Lesser, the Artistic Director of Scripps Presents, and I'm so delighted to have all of you here tonight for our Scripps Presents at Home program with Samantha Irby and Ann Friedman. Tonight's program is supported by the Alexandra Fullerton Hampton 42 Fund. It's also dedicated to the Scripps class of 2020, and it's our chance to honor all of your hard work, dedication, and accomplishments. I also want to give a special shout out to the Scripps Presents and Public Events student interns who are graduating this year. Miriam Banquier, Karina Schick, Jamie Houghton, Lexi Varga, Julia Gottlieb, and Evelyn Davis. Congratulations to all of you. A quick housekeeping note, we'll be taking questions from the audience at the end of this program, so please send a chat to us and we'll do our best to get to your question. Scripps Presents seeks to complement the dynamic humanities curriculum at Scripps College by bringing the most thoughtful and timely writers, artists, and scholars into conversation with our community. Long before Samantha Irby was hailed as an ideal quarantine companion by the New York Times, her writing on race, class, and popular culture was singular in its hilarity and relatability. Her latest collection, Wow, No Thank You, was an instant #1 bestseller. We're delighted that Los Angeles' own Ann Friedman, co-host of the popular podcast Call Your Girlfriend and author of the forthcoming book, Big Friendship, will be joining her. Sam, Ann, it's so great to have you both here. Welcome.
Hey. I don't know, I'm surprised it works. Hello.
So great to have you both here. Take it away.
Awesome. Sam, I'm so excited about this. Honestly, I'm like a true and deep fan. And I know it's like all quoting the New York Times to be like, you're the perfect quarantine companion, but seriously, I have not laughed this hard in like weeks and weeks of sad isolation. So thank you.
And I'm going to fangirl right back at you and say that I've been listening to your podcast every week religiously and since the beginning, and seeing you here and hearing your voice is like melting my heart a little bit. So I'm happy to be here with you.
So I have to ask you, I mean, okay, the paper of record is calling you a quarantine queen or whatever, but like, what's happening for you? What are you hating about this moment? Are you kind of liking the fact that you get to stay home all the time? Like, how are you?
I am doing okay. I kind of love being at home. I don't love, I live with a few people now and they don't love being at home and I don't love having them here. So that's part of it. I'm like, man, if y'all could go for a walk for 5 hours, that would be great. But other than that, so if I wasn't at home, I would be on tour right now. And I feel like, there are people at Random House who are not going to want me to say this, but I'm glad that I am not traveling. I mean, I have seen you on tour, so I know, but like traveling and being dirty and meeting people and not really sleeping and like trying to run through airports is not fun. So I'm glad I don't have to do that. Although I want other people to be outside as much as they want to be. So I feel bad for all of the outside people who are cooped up. But for me, I'm like, well, I could do this for a while. That's so terrible, but I really could.
I think it's funny because going on book tour is one of those things that's maybe supposed to be kind of glamorous and aspirational. Mm-hmm. And so much of this book for me is about you saying, okay, I kind of want that in theory, but then like, here is what the practice looks like.
Yes. Yeah. Theoretically, you picture people like jetting through airports and like arriving breathlessly at bookstores where people are like clamoring for them. And the reality is like, all of your underwear is dirty and you're like trying to wash it in a hotel sink and like trying to choose outfits that people can't like smell that you sweat through 2 days before. So I want it to be fun for me. It's never fun for me. So when they were like, well, we're not sending you out, I was like, oh, just kidding. I was like, yes, sorry. I'll jump on the Zoom whenever you want, but I'm glad that I did not have to be on an airplane.
I found myself earlier today really wanting the Samantha Irby take on Zoom as I set myself up just so for this talk. Like, yeah.
I will write just for you a Zoom essay. I will talk to you about, so I had my first Zoom doctor appointment a couple days ago, which was weird. And I was like, where do I put the computer? Like, what is the healthiest looking corner of this house? Like, where can I set up where he won't be like, are those Doritos in the background? You know? So I will write you, currently my laptop is on a shoebox with a cookbook on top of it because I need the angles to write. I would also love if there was a Zoom lighting rig that I could get so that I looked nicer and healthier and glowier, but I'll work on that. I'm sure I just need to buy a ring light so I can be cute online. But that to me feels like I'm leaning in when I just want to be doing fine with it. I don't want to master Zoom.
I understand. This is one of the things I respect most about you is you really, when you don't need to master something, or you're like, okay. And that for me is so refreshing. I mean, we're inundated with all kinds of writing that's like, here is how to master the thing.
I mean, there are too many things. There are too many things. I would like, especially all of our young viewers today, to understand that you really only got to be good at two things. You only have to master working your cell phone and lying. Everything else you can be sort of okay at and get through the pressure to, I mean, I always, whenever, you see an article that's how to be the best, whatever, it's well, who's administering the test and how often will I use that? And so do I actually have to be good? No, I just have to get through a half hour of whatever and get on the other side of it. I don't have to conquer anything, truly.
There is this strong self-deprecating tone throughout your work that I love, but one of the things about that is it really takes a lot of confidence and self-possession to write that way. And one thing I love about your work is you are really one of the most confident writers in terms of I know who it is. When I read one paragraph, I'm like, it's Sam. And that kind of confidence, I think, especially, you mentioned our younger viewers, is something that, I don't know, I would love to hear you talk about that, if it's something that you work consciously to cultivate.
Well, thank you for saying that. All these compliments, I'm just soaking them up, and I'm going to put them when I'm feeling bad. I'm going to be remember when Ann said, and it's going to make me feel better. I think my approach has always been that my philosophy, if it's even sophisticated enough to call a philosophy, is just that if I just kind of lay it all out there, whenever I meet someone or whenever someone encounters me in real life, they'll know that it's really me and I won't have to explain it. Whereas if I made myself look better, I would just be creating more work for myself. And my goal is always to do less work in all facets of life. But if I was man, I have my shit together, I'm always on time, I do this great, I'm great at this, and then you meet me and you're who's this slobbering mess who was sweating through her clothes and spent 40 minutes in the bathroom? I don't want to have to explain to you the difference between that person and my real self. So I put it out there. It doesn't, people are always sometimes people will say oh, it's so brave. And I'm well, it's not, it truly is lowering your expectations so that you're always pleasantly surprised when I exceed them, and you're unsurprised when you actually meet me and you're she really does smell weird, you know?
Well, it has this effect of making me want to share every weird and gross thing about myself. And so I'm wondering if that happens to you a lot.
Yes, and that is the goal. That's the goal, is just I am an open receptacle into which you can dump all of your weird, gross stuff. Even if you don't, I feel like, I mean, again, I don't ever want to sound deep, but I feel like whatever walls I break down by being like, look, I had to poop in a diaper before. If that makes you feel better about something in your life, then that's worth it for me. Like if I can put my stuff out there in a way that makes you laugh or a way that you relate, or you just read it and you go, I'm less alone because she's out there doing that same thing, then that's what I do it for. Like that's the payoff.
Oh, I love that. And it's funny, to me anyway, one of the most tender chapters in this book is about trying to make new friends as an adult. And I feel like it's really appropriate speaking to a bunch of students who are about to kind of enter another life phase when you really are confronted with how do I identify the people that I want to be close to? And it really is, you just said like, I want to set some expectations, but you also kind of want to impress someone when you're becoming friends.
Yes. It's like dating, except I think even more stressful than dating. Because if dating doesn't work out, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But with friends, when you find someone who you really want to be their friend, it's like, oh, this must happen. This is extremely important. I just got an early copy of your book, which I'm very excited to read because talking and thinking about friendship is like one of my favorite things. No one teaches you how to do it as an adult outside of like an environment where you're forced to be together. And so in this new phase of my life where I'm freelancing and I don't have a job to go to, like where I can commiserate with someone, it's just like, how do I convince this person who looks cool in 30 seconds that I am worth them spending their time? And so I do pull out all the stops, all the tap dancing, all my best jokes, all my funniest, nicest self. And I'm just like, please tell me you want to text me later. Please, I would do anything just to have a text relationship with you. And it's so hard. Every time I do it, I feel like I'm failing. I'm like, do you like me? And they're like, oh, maybe. I'm like devastated.
I mean, one of the things that's so good about that chapter, though, is you explain kind of like, not criteria, but maybe qualities that you might see in another person and think, like we'd probably be compatible friends. And we're often encouraged to do that about a romantic partner. People will say, what's your type? But until I read the way you had articulated that, it did not occur to me that I'm like, yeah, I am, of course, doing the same thing. Yes. Criteria.
If I see someone with like glasses and tattoos and like, interesting hair, or like their clothes are like really interesting and put together. Like I dress, like a fat ninja. So my clothes are not like impressive in any way. But if I see someone in a cute get up and like all put together and I'm like, oh, I bet her Spotify playlists are amazing. I just am like, I see lock eyes and then I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. And once you get past the like, hello, I think you're interesting, and they understand that you're not like hitting on them, because you have to make that clear too. I have to be like, my wife is over there. I would like to just talk to you about like music and books. How about that? What are you interested? But like once you identify, I know like I think I can spot like the kind of people who would be horrified if I approach them for friendship. But once I find the cool people, I'm like, okay, I see you. I'm going to go over there, plead my case in 30 seconds, and hopefully you will enter into a friendship pact with me until death.
The whole need for making new friends arises because a lot of this book is about you moving to the town where your wife had been living before, leaving Chicago. And it really, there's this tension between you both being like, listen, I'm comfortable being middle-aged, or I'm settled into who I am. And at the same time, like, being confronted with this whole new reality. And I wonder how you picked specific moments to talk about the ways you were going through that. And I'm wondering how you did that, and like what stands out to you when you think about that transition.
It was hard because I moved and immediately like had nothing to do, right? Because I didn't have like a job or anywhere to go. Like I moved and then it was like, okay, you have an inside computer job. Now, what are you gonna do? So really it was just like me sitting with myself every day, just kind of being like, how do I experience this place when I don't have anything to do here? So then it was like, well, what's it like going to the store, like trying to find a new store? What's it like encountering the neighbors while pulling the garbage can in? And it really was, it felt, I was like, I didn't even know if I knew I had to write about it, but I didn't know how to write about it because I truly was like, how can I even talk about a place I don't see because I'm inside all the time while like my wife is out working. So then I was just like doing what I always do, which is to write the actual experience of my day here, which is like, what is it like when I peek outside the door to bring in the UPS box or whatever? And then it turned, I wrote like 5,000 words about it. Yeah, just my little experience. And like people who live here are like, you give us a bad rap. And I'm like, I bet I do. But the thing is, I don't go anywhere. So that really is my experience of this place. It's like my house, whatever the neighbors are doing when I look out the window, and that's pretty much it. Like whatever the mailman is up to.
I mean, I don't think, okay, personal opinion is I don't think you give them a bad rap, but I do think, but I do think that you capture the fact that you're moving from one kind of environment, like, a city environment where you can expect to meet and know people who you have more things in common with, who hit those criteria, to an environment where maybe less so. And reality, that's reality.
Yeah, it was, and it still is kind of like, I sometimes am just like, when does my real life happen? Because I'm so conditioned to my old life where I just am like, I can go to a bar and like walk in and find like 3 people that I think I could be cool with. And here it's like, what bar? So it's still like an adjustment. And I'm still like, when will I get to the point where either I don't care anymore or like it feels normal to me? Like, I don't know. We'll see. The lucky for me, I'm only like 2.5 hours away from Chicago. So when I really miss it, I can just like sneak and take the car and leave my wife stranded here and go see people I know.
There's a line in I can't remember which of the chapters, but it's about how life is not a movie. It's about how like actually things are hard and bad and messy and weird. And I bring it up here because I think you said earlier, like, I don't want to be the one giving like the pep talk kind of speech here, but I'm wondering how that sentiment plays when you think about soon to be college graduates listening to us, and how you would couch that for them.
I would say that one of the hardest things about the time in which we live, I was spared like of social media. Like I was like deeply in my 20s, I think, when MySpace came out. So I was like spared of seeing so much of other people's lives, or not even their lives, but their sort of curated life. And I, as a 40-year-old person, will still scroll Instagram and be like, we went to high school together and that is her house. Like, how, like, you know what I mean? Like, you see somebody with like a giant bathtub or a walk-in shower and it's like, I remember when you failed history. I can't believe you lived there. So I would say that, like, keeping in mind that what you see is what people want you to see, and it's often curated for you to see it. Like, this corner of my dining room looks great, but a bomb could have exploded on the other side of my computer and you wouldn't know. And it's like, man, Sam has a painting. Yeah, but Sam also like has a garbage bag full of, you know, cat hair in the corner. So I would just say to always like keep in mind when you, because I mean, truly comparison is the thief of joy. And if you are always comparing what you have to not even what other people have, but what you think they have, you can get bummed out. It happens to me all the time. And then I just have to remind myself that one, they're probably lying. And two, what I have is fine. Like, all my stuff is okay. So all your stuff is okay, even if, I mean, you know, you're going to see these people that you're graduating with, like you're going to see them online in 5 years and be like, whoa, I can't believe she had that beautiful wedding. But also, like, maybe she hates her husband. You know, you just have to keep in mind that what you see isn't always what it is, and to never get bummed out about what somebody else is or does or has.
And is that part of the motivation for writing the way you do and selecting the subjects you do?
Yeah, I don't ever want anyone, I mean, I try to be as transparent as possible or as is reasonable so that no one ever thinks, I don't want anybody to think that they could never do or have what I've done or have, like, I always want to like take off the veil and like tell you what it is and how it is in the realest way possible. Because I grew up like really poor, but in a place where a lot of people weren't poor. And I spent, the first 20 plus years of my life feeling like, or not even feeling like, knowing that I didn't have enough. And then you get older and you're like, oh, well, people like had help, or they had parents, or they had this, or they had that. And like, I shouldn't have felt so bad all the time. So I think if I can like live in a way that's like, look, this is what I got. This is how you can get it. I'll connect you to the person who helped me get it or whatever. That is a way that feels good for me to live. Also, I mean, it truly is nothing special going on over here. I've cracked 0 codes.
I mean, I think you've cracked a few codes. I don't know, like a couple.
Okay, a couple. I have gone from a blog to a book. That's a code crack. Yes.
Okay, no, you've gone from a blog to several best-selling books. Okay, let's be clear about the terms.
Okay, Ann, I'll take it. I was going to downplay it, but no, I'll take it. I'm trying to be better about accepting nice words.
Okay, my last question for you is maybe kind of a frivolous little one before we go to everyone else's. And it's this. One thing that plagued us when we were writing our book is when to deploy the exclamation point. And you are really good at knowing when to use it, when it's going to really help you, and when it's going to be a difficult, like, oh God, this feels like a bad text message thread. And I'm wondering if you can talk about that a little bit and how you find that line, because this is a problem many women face in their daily emailing life.
I usually turn in this terrible. I turn in the first draft. Like, I don't reread anything. I'm just like, oh, that's done. Gonna send it to my editor. Like, I turn in things an essay at a time. And then I get it back and like, I read it after knowing she's read it. And I'm like, oh, so I usually go through and take out some exclamation points, take out some, I love a caps lock situation. I try to pull out the caps lock sometimes where I have overly used it. But I mean, if there is something, I'm liberal with my use of exclamation and caps lock. Like if there's something I want to scream at you on the page, I'm not afraid to do it. I like a lot of exclamation points. Where I get in trouble is I'll put like 10 in a row, and like my editor will be like, this isn't a text message, you moron. Like this is a real book. Take 8 of those out. But I mean, they sometimes don't rein me in as much as they should. So then I go through and I'm like, well, I'll take this one out, but I'm going to add 2 more here. And it just, whenever I want to shout or be excited, I shout.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes, you should too. I want everyone to be shouting.
Permission slip. I love it. I am going to hand it off to Miriam Bankier, who is going to be reading the questions that you all have submitted as you've been watching.
Okay.
Hi. So the first question is from Starling. Is your cat Carrots named in honor of Anne of Green Gables and her nickname from Gilbert?
Well, first of all, I love any cat question ever. No, she is named Carrots because my very good friend Laura has a little daughter. And when we went to pick her up from the ASPCA, I called Laura and I sent her a picture, and her little daughter Louise said you should name her Carrots. She said either honey or carrots. So we went with Carrots. I mean, I wish I had like literary references for anything I ever do in life. That's very sweet of you to think that I can read, but I can't.
The next question is from Teresa. What film or TV shows are you watching right now?
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm watching, this is like your grandmother's shows. I'm watching The Good Fight on CBS, and I just watched the show Evil on CBS, which is incredible. Today I watched Trial by Media, which is a Netflix documentary. And trust me, it's a documentary series. I'm not a documentary person. So you have to know that, if I'm not a documentary person and I sat through it, that it's really like garbage and good. So that, Billions, I think I might be like the only person who like regularly watches Billions, but I love Billions. What else? I mean, this is bad because like I have to reveal that I'm a person who still like watches Survivor and stuff like that. And then people feel bad for me because they're like, why don't you watch anything cool? Oh, I watch one cool thing. I watch Insecure and Run on HBO. Those are both like cool shows. But everything else is like what your grandma watches. Like SVU reruns over and over and over.
Chrissy Rose from Facebook is wondering, what is Sam's best joke for making a new friend?
Oh, I do not use the jokes because I think that's sort of corny, but I really like flirt in a friendship situation or a friendship inception situation. And I like to do a lot of compliments, but like in a way that's like over the top. I just like to be like, girl, you are so beautiful. And look at your skirt. Tell me what you're listening to. Oh my God, your shoes are so beautiful. What is that blush? Can I use some? I just really lay on the compliments and the flattery, and then they melt in my palms.
I love that. Here's a more serious question from Alex. Do you have recommendations for women dealing with body image issues?
Okay, so a thing that helped me and like Tumblr is kind of over, but like back in the Tumblr days, I would follow just every naked Tumblr there was, every naked fat Tumblr I could find. But now there are tons of Instagrams of where people just like are posting their real bodies in all manner of clothes and unclothed. And I think that for me, just constantly looking at people's bodies helped me I don't even know if reckon with is the right word, but just when you're kind of like inundated, like when you force yourself to just look at and appreciate all kinds of bodies, it's helpful in accepting and loving your own. And I just look at pictures of people and I think the things I think about myself, I would never say to that person. So why do I say it to myself? And like, that's a kind of, I don't know if that'll work, but it'll help for sure. I hope.
Thank you. That's good advice. This
Okay.
one's from Haley for both of you.
Okay.
What has been your favorite snack you've gotten into during the quarantine era? Turning the classic CYJG question back on you.
Oh my God, a snack. Well, for me, so I had to go gluten-free for my digestive issues. It causes me so much pain, I almost can't talk about it. But Tate's gluten-free chocolate chip cookies are the best. If you have to. Eat regular cookies if you don't. But if you have to, the Tate's gluten-free ones are very good.
I've been making many dips in isolation. And I do feel that a homemade hummus is like a real perfect snack for this time because can of chickpeas, lemon, tahini, like it's kind of like pantry oriented. But you can put whatever you have in it if you've got herbs or whatever, and gluten-free, like I didn't realize I was about to recommend a gluten-free snack, but home pantry hummus is really seeing me through.
Yeah. Oh, I love a dip. That is a good answer.
So on the same wavelength of food, Lauren asks, I love your recipes and approach to cooking. Any advice for these recent grads on feeding themselves?
Well, that's very nice because my like little recipes are like a joke. I would say to get one good pan that you can do a lot of things in, like ask your parents, or whoever's getting you graduation gifts to get you a good pan. And I would say get one all around good cookbook. By whoever, it doesn't really matter, in whatever style that you like to eat, but one that has like an appetizer and a main and like side dishes and salads and maybe a dessert. Just one thing that has, that's in the vein of things you like, and just like make everything in that book, like just kind of practice. And like, don't stress yourself out. You don't have to be an expert. Remember, you just have to make it edible and get it in your mouth. So I would get one pan and one cookbook that looks good to you and try to cook everything from it. That's what I still do that.
Leslie asks, please speak to the Survivor Slam of Natalie.
The what?
The Survivor Slam of Natalie.
Oh, Natalie, on the show Survivor. Oh my God. I was like, what? Wait, did this happen last night? Because I didn't see last night's episode, but Natalie is a queen. I don't know if she won. I feel like that question means she didn't win, but I would follow her into the pits of hell. She is amazing. I love her.
The next question is from Andrea. This question is for Ann and Sam, since you both work from home, what tips do you have for people who just recently had to start working from home?
Oh, see, I only have bad tips because I just start working at 9 p.m. and then work till 3 in the morning, which is terrible. But I would say if I were, the one thing I do that I feel very proud of myself for doing, I take a shower every day. And that to me, so when these days get all kind of shapeless and, gelatinous and you can't tell morning from night, having a shower every morning at least makes me feel like I've started a new day. So that would be my tip. Clean yourself or have some kind of ritual that feels like the next day.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It kind of doesn't matter what your thing is. Maybe it's a shower in the morning, or maybe you need to put on pants with a zipper, or maybe you light a candle, or whatever it is, do a thing that is a cue to you that you're in work mode now. Yeah. I think that maybe that's 101, but it honestly does work for me. And I can scale it up if I have something more intense to do. I'll be okay, pants with a zipper and a bra today. We are getting serious. We are getting down to it. Whereas other days I might just be okay, not pajamas or whatever you need to do,
So the next question is from Sharon. What were you like as a child?
Probably annoying and precocious. I was the baby, the baby. My sisters are 15, 17, and 20 years older than I am. And my mom was old and indulgent and excited to have a baby. And I learned to read early. So I talked too much and I was a little know-it-all. So I'm going to say annoying. When you're talking to a kid and the kid, just that one step over from cute to okay, kid, you got to shut up. That me.
And the final question is from Anonymous, but I would love the answer as well. Do you have any advice you can share to send off our graduating students into the world?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I don't have any practical advice. I don't know anything about taxes or savings bonds or whatever. I don't have any practical advice. I would say that my what has gotten me through life, and I've had a tough life in places it's pretty good, is I just try not to take anything, myself especially, too seriously. I just try to take things as they come and deal with them as best they can, but I am not hard on myself anymore. I just try to do what I can to get to the next day, and that is good enough. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you're type A and that's the way you function, Godspeed to you, but everybody else, just try to take it easy on yourself. Life is so hard. So many things are going to happen. You don't also need to be your own worst enemy by being hard on yourself. Just be gentle with yourself and try to laugh at everything that you can. That sounded so trite, but I mean it. I mean it in the non-trite way.
Well, thank you so much for all your advice. I'm so glad that I got to experience my last Scripps event with both of you. And Karina Lesser has a few last words.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you both, and really just glad to know that we've got your humor and insight, Sam, to get us through this this crazy time. And so thanks for joining us. And a special shout out again to our Scripps class of 2020. Of course, we wish we were live and in person with you, but this was definitely the next best thing. So congratulations, and look forward to seeing everybody again soon. Have a great night.